Craig is sitting there and he's like, sometimes I don't even know if you like me. And Paige laughs and she's like, good, I like that. I like that I keep you on your toes. And sometimes you think that I don't like you. So do you classify that as mean? Or do you just classify that as, maybe even her way of flirting? I don't know. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks, bringing out the latest in reality TV and pop culture. Back to reality, unfortunately. Oh man, I've been in Puerto Vallarta. Well, not the past 5 days. I got back home on Tuesday, but I left on Friday. Oh my gosh, you guys, the sun. I haven't seen the sun in so long. You can tell I have a little life to my skin now. I'm not like as pale as I was when I came out of the womb, almost 32 years ago now. Loved it. Had the best time. Some of you guys were asking in the Instagram DMs about the resort info. I stayed at the Grand Velas, and it was grand. It was very grand. I'm not used to vacations like that, really. But like I said, I kind of just piggybacked off Dave being there for a work retreat. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to come, because my birthday is Sunday, February 9th. So how else am I going to ring in my birthday besides sitting on the beaches of Puerto Vallarta? I am glad to be home. I really missed my dog. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't be sitting at the pool. I couldn't be eating ceviche without being like, I miss Harley, and I wonder what he would be doing right now if he was sitting on this beach with me. I do miss my friend Chepe, who kept bringing me chips and guac like literally all day. I almost turned into an avocado while I was there. What else happened? My sinus infection clearly didn't go away. That was like one of the main reasons I wanted to go. I was like, the salt water is going to clear up that nasal passage so quick. Nope, didn't happen. So I'm thinking a trip to the ENT has got to be in my future because I have no idea what is going on with my nasal passages. We saw wild whales. Oh my gosh. You guys, talk about the most life-changing experience. If you see a whale in the wild, you have like all the range of emotions. You have exhilaration, panic, fear, joy, sadness. I experienced it all. And we were on a jet ski, okay? And we saw humpback whales on a jet ski with just Dave and I. One false move, and that tail from the humpback whale, Willie, wiping you off that jet ski, never to be seen again. Like I did have that fear, that if we got a little too close, that you would never see me again. But, we didn't. We made it out alive, and now I miss them. I was like sitting back up on the beach, and I was like, Dave, I want to go back and see Willie, like I missed them after I saw it. But wow, what an amazing experience that was. If you ever have the opportunity to do that, I would definitely, take it up. But enough about me, besides the fact that it is my birthday on Sunday, February 9th, so make sure you wish me a happy 32nd birthday. After 30, I don't really care. Honestly, after 25, I don't really care. I used to make the biggest deal out of my birthdays ever. We would be going out on the town in blizzards every year because I live in Cleveland, and it's 23 degrees here right now. But this year, I'm like, okay, the Super Bowl is on. I'm just going to make some pizza sliders. Like, there's obviously already entertainment going on, and I'm just going to chill, This is 32, ringing in 32. With the sinus infection that I've had for 5 months. Let's get into it. The pop 3 biggest stories of the week. When I saw that Justin Baldoni launched this website while I was on vacation. Do you guys know that scene from Euphoria, I think it is? I don't know. I didn't watch Euphoria, but it's Sydney Sweeney, and she's crying, and she's like, I've never been happier. That's how I felt when I was like, I'm supposed to be on vacation, and Justin Baldoni's going to drop this website. We knew that the website was coming. The lawyer had said, like, we're putting it all out there. Well, it's here. It's called thelawsuitinfo.com. And I mean, cut to the chase. It's the lawsuit info. Like, what else do you want to know? That's what it is. Great branding. On that note, It has a 224-page amended complaint. So that is basically what they filed in court, plus other stuff that has just recently come up, mostly, honestly, from Candace Owens and other TikTokers. I'm sure you guys know all about that. And then a 168-page PDF called Timeline of Relevant Events. Light reading, by the pool. It mostly is the timeline. It contains emails, text messages, going all the way back to January of 2019, where Justin Baldoni is very first talking to Colleen Hoover about making this book, and Colleen is saying things like, "You are the man to make this movie," right? It basically just is a lot of text messages showing rapport between everybody, but it also shows a lot of rebuttals for Blake Lively's complaint. One example of that is like the body shaming content or comment that she says in her complaint. Well, Lively shares her concerns with Baldoni about having her body ready for the sex scenes that their characters would have to shoot. She says, "What's the chance we can do body scenes at the end of the schedule?" To which Justin Baldoni replies and says, "You don't need to stress about your body." He emphasizes his determination to work collaboratively with her to ensure her comfort. And it's a lot of that. It's a lot of taking whatever Blake Lively said in her complaint and adding more context to it to show the intent behind it, his heart behind it, if you will. Ryan Reynolds is all up in there. Surprise, surprise. The only question that I did have, and maybe I need to read it, I only skimmed it really because 168 pages, like who has the time? I had all the time in the world and I still didn't want to do it. But the only question that I did have was the logistics of this intimacy coordinator. So it seems that there was a meeting with the intimacy coordinator and Blake said, "I'll meet her when we start." So then Justin goes and meets with the intimacy coordinator by himself. He apparently writes all these handwritten notes and then has to relay the message to Blake. So my question for that is, was this person then not on set? Was there only that one meeting where he had to relay everything to her? That was the only question mark that I needed to look into more. And honestly, in my opinion, everything that they posted online just shows a lot of Blake Lively kind of bulldozing her way through the movie, which is kind of the conclusion that we've all come to, right? I think a lot of people have been a little too hung up on the Blake Lively caught feelings for Justin Baldoni. I think it's just easy, to go that route. But I also think that a lot of this was ego and power struggles and, based on text messages that were in that complaint, or in, Justin's, the lawsuitinfo.com, a lot of the text messages kind of revealed that Blake has been hurt by directors in her past, I guess not giving her the credit that she thinks she deserves, not allowing her to be more creatively involved in the movie. And I think that she saw this as her moment, even though technically she was hired on to be an actress. We now know that she made a whole cut of the movie, her own version of the movie. So I think it really does just come down to an ego thing. I think when you are Blake Lively and you're married to Ryan Reynolds and you're both A-listers, I think you probably want the same recognition and validation of your counterpart, Ryan Reynolds. And I think she saw this as her opportunity to do so. And unfortunately just burned a whole lot of bridges along the way. In the meantime, Justin's lawyer did get a W in the win column this week because the gag order, they said they can't do that. However, they have to follow New York rules of professional conduct, which doesn't allow lawyers to make statements that are likely to taint a jury. And I'm like, hello, that ship has sailed. If anybody is chronically online or even online a little bit, I was thinking, how are they going to pick a jury for this trial? It's everywhere. It's all over social media. It's all over Facebook. It's all over hard news channels. I guess if they can do it for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, they'll be able to do it for this. But my opinion is that's not going to be easy. All right, let's move on to the Grammys. Music's biggest night, of course, had some controversy. It would not be the Grammys if it didn't have a little bit of controversy. Let's start with Kanye West and his wife, Bianca Censori, who showed up to the Grammys, red carpet, and Kanye was dressed normally black t-shirt, black jeans. Bianca had her hair slicked back in a bun with this big black fur coat. She turns around, drops it just below her butt crack, honestly. We're like, oh, okay, she's got a low back little dress on. Well, then she drops it and she is naked as a jaybird, free as they come, breezing in the wind. And everyone was like, wow, I did not think that was legal, right? We're all sitting here thinking, is this not indecent exposure? It's posted all over the internet with no blur. I'm like, I just saw this woman completely naked, and I did not ask to see this woman completely naked. I mean, you guys know me, biggest prude alert over here. I don't want to see nobody like that. It was weird. It was weird. And my initial thought, honestly, was not like shocked or whatever. My first thought was, I feel so bad for those kids. I really do. And like, I feel bad for them on both ends. Your mom is Kim Kardashian. Your dad is Kanye West. I think that there has to be a lot of trauma that comes along with both of those things, And look, Kanye West is in a category all of his own. But, I think with Kim and her being such a high profile celebrity, like there comes a lot of problems with that too. When you're trying to raise kids and whatnot, they're not comparable. Like, let's be honest. Let's be honest. But, we all remember when Kanye would tell Kim that her dresses were too sexy for the Met Gala. And then you have your new wife naked. And, a lot of people are raising concerns. I mean, is this just different ways of controlling the women in his life, whether he's, saying go naked or you're dressing too sexy? It just does not make a whole lot of sense. I believe he wanted to cause a scene. I believe that is his MO in life. Yeah. So there you go. She's not going to get in any legal trouble. So the LAPD told TMZ that no one at the Grammys contacted authorities with any complaints. And since it's considered a private event, there's no need for the law to get involved. Okay. So the other controversy, depending on who you ask, I do not subscribe to the narrative that Beyoncé should not have won Album of the Year. I believe she deserved it. And I am happy that she won. Beyoncé won Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter. Some people have some things to say about it, and if you do, you haven't listened to it because it's amazing. I'm not going to speak to Country Album of the Year because I don't listen to country music. The only country music I listen to is Cowboy Carter. And some of you are sitting there saying, well, that proves your point, Morgan. It's not country. It is country. Okay, it's like country pop. I like it. Nobody says anything about Post Malone switching genres and doing country. Nobody questions whether or not his album is country. It very much so is, right? I've seen some statements from members of the Recording Academy saying why they voted for Beyoncé. And I think this kind of, just hits the nail on the head. It was innovative. It was different. It wasn't your typical Beyoncé album where you have, your Billie Eilishes and your Taylor Swifts, who, don't get me wrong, are extremely talented in their own right and deserved a nominee. But Taylor Swift, that album could have came out at any point of Taylor Swift's career. The Billie Eilish album is a Billie Eilish album. This was a groundbreaking, moment for Beyoncé. And she did it in her last album when she pivoted, to Renaissance with the more EDM dance music. And now she's going to Cowboy Carter with the country music. There is a theory that she's going to have a rock album. I just like it. And, I was happy to see her win. It's been 25 years. She's never won Album of the Year. She's the most decorated Grammy artist ever. I'm not going to say that it's not a little weird, right, that Jay-Z got up there last year and complained about his wife not winning. That it's not that standalone incident that bothers me. It's that coupled with the fact that The Weeknd showed up and performed, right, after swearing off the Grammys and boycotting and I'll never be back, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, yeah, clearly. But I think that Beyoncé deserved to win. You know what else? I had this thought. I hate that Beyoncé is tied to Jay-Z. I really do hate that for her because I feel like, there's all these conspiracy theories about Beyoncé and is she in the Illuminati and like all these things. And I feel like she's not out there a lot. She doesn't do a lot of press. She's just not in the press a lot. And I feel like that narrative is perpetuated, by conspiracy theorists and whatever. But anytime that you actually hear her speak and hear what she has to say and listen to her, and it's very few and far between, I'm like, that's not at all how she is. How she's portrayed by other people in the media is not at all how she comes across. Is it a huge act? Is she the leader of the Illuminati? I don't know. I haven't been asked to be in the Illuminati. So maybe someday when I do, I'll let you know. It's a joke, people. Don't have a conniption. Don't get your panties in a wad. Let's move on. Lastly, in this week's Pop 3, Rebecca Minkoff is leaving the Real Housewives of New York City. Who's surprised? Not me. Honestly, I don't even know why this is like a big deal. She was a friend of, she really, it's not that I dislike her. I just feel like, she was all up in arms about the fact that people were asking her about Scientology. And I'm like, how in the world do you get cast on the Real Housewives of New York City and you think nobody's going to ask you about it and nobody's going to question you about it? Anyways, she wrote a statement, black background, white text. 2025 is a new beginning for me. And with current events in the world, I'm reminded the importance of family, friends, and community now more than ever. The last month has given me new perspective on wanting to focus on my wildly amazing 4 kids, my supportive husband, my business of 20 years, the Female Founder Collective, and my podcast and my book. As much as I have learned along the way with this franchise and fans, I want to reprioritize the things that mean the most to me: designing, giving back, supporting women, and raising my family. I'm truly grateful for the experience, friendships, and the fans that have been a part of this Roni chapter. Time to turn the next page. It's like you barely opened the book. We're not going to talk about turning the next page when you were our friend of for one season. But she did air her grievances with the ladies, saying their questions about Scientology didn't seem genuine. And the main reason she didn't open up to them on the show about it was because of that. How do you come across genuine in that? The only thing I remember from the season was when they were in the van and they were like, what do you want us to say if somebody brings up the Scientology stuff? Like, how is that not genuine? I don't know. Not a huge loss. I do feel like Roni is in the trenches of deep despair, but we'll see where it goes from here. All right, let's move on to this week's deep dive, and it has to be Paige DeSorbo versus everyone. Paige DeSorbo is taking no prisoners, and honestly, I am here for it. Earlier this week, Paige dispelled these cheating rumors once and for all. She's not happy with the other side, the ops, she said, right? And the rumors have been going on for a while. Of course, we talked about it last week on MPT. I've had this thought the whole entire time because whenever Paige first came out and announced her and Craig's breakup, she said nothing happened, right? Okay? Nothing was done wrong. But people are so fixated on another Scandival moment. And I know that we've talked about this. And I think people are also fixated on the fact that one person has to be the victim and one person has to be the villain. And it actually never works out like that, right? It's never 100% one way or the other. And Paige kind of alludes to this in this second statement that she makes. But first, let's just kind of get some of the backstory. So obviously we know that she made that announcement right after Christmas. Well, Austin Kroll was on Watch What Happens Live last week. And a caller asked about the rumors that Paige DeSorbo, ex-girlfriend of his castmate Craig Conover, was dating someone new, this Joe D'Amelio character. We saw Sporty Paige at the Philadelphia Eagles game. There were rumors that she was in Miami with him. And Austin says, I don't think that those are rumors. I think they've been substantiated. He also added that Craig Conover was well aware she had moved on with a new guy. We were all kind of like, like grab the brown paper bag. We need to do our breathing exercises right now because I was not expecting anybody, let alone Austin, to say something like that on Watch What Happens Live, right? Well, Paige quickly responded to it the next day and said, yes, a man I haven't spoken to in 6 months knows exactly what I'm doing. So she's kind of clapping back. Then you also had Miss Patricia, who was at Watch What Happens Live with Austin, who said she thought Paige was mean to Craig. Said, she kind of scoffed at the idea of marrying him. Well, Paige responded by posting a quote to her Instagram story saying, teach your daughters it's more important to have a voice than to be nice. And after this exchange, I had 2 thoughts. The first thought that I had was, I love the fact that Paige DeSorbo is taking no prisoners right now. I love the fact that if somebody has something to say about her, she's not going to let it go unchecked, especially if it's wrong, right? Or if it alludes to something she actually has not done. I really like that. I honestly have been kind of taking some inspiration for it, because people are so quick to write your story for you, and it's never accurate. It's never accurate. So I love the fact that she's not afraid to clap back. But has she been mean to Craig? That's another question, right? That we got to dive into. I think at times she has, but I don't know if it was like, seriously, because for a moment in time, it was a shtick, right? I mean, I remember the picnic scene in Summer House where Craig is sitting there and he's like, sometimes I don't even know if you like me. And Paige laughs and she's like, good, I like that. I like that I keep you on your toes. And sometimes you think that I don't like you. So do you classify that as mean? Or do you just classify that as, maybe even her way of flirting? I don't know. Of course, things change over 3 years. That's a long time. But I do remember when they very first got together, because I do chronic rewatches while I'm in the middle of all of these seasons. And I remember Paige in her little pink headband, pushed back, this little floral cute top, being giddy over Craig, head over heels, excited about the possibility of this new relationship with him. So to go from that like giddiness to this shtick of, well, I don't even know if my girlfriend actually really likes me, it's kind of hard to digest. I get that. But is it mean? I think that is up to everybody's interpretation. But she kind of reset the table this week on Giggly Squad because there's been all of these cheating rumors. She says, in the 3 years that I dated my ex-boyfriend, I never physically cheated on him, emotionally cheated on him. Since there's no one sticking up for me on the other side, the ops. I will say that Craig and I broke up Thanksgiving weekend, okay? That's at the end of November. Craig then went on and did press for Southern Charm, did whatever he needed to do, acting as if we were still together. And that was fine. I said that he could do that. He was processing in his own way. After Christmas passed, Paige said that Craig was presenting himself as single while on a trip, which led her to believe that he was ready for her to announce their split. She says, I texted him saying, hey, I'm going to be sharing the news on Giggly Squad. The text went unanswered. She said, that's fine. The episode came out at the end of December. She says, let me say this here and now. I did not move on with some new guy. I am single. I don't have a new boyfriend. I did not cheat on my ex-boyfriend, and it was a full month that we were broken up, and I didn't say anything because even though we are public, there are certain things that I think should remain private. And he asked me not to say anything. No one was blindsided. No one was cheated on. She says, I don't want to be viewed as the victim or the villain. And like I said, I think that's such a great point because people so badly want one person to be good and one person to be bad. And it never actually happens like that. It's a lose-lose situation for public figures because I have to imagine when you're going through a breakup, you're not seeing eye to eye anyways, right? You're not seeing eye to eye about this relationship, which we know probably that Paige wanted to end the relationship. Craig did not want this relationship to end. He wanted to marry her no matter what, no matter how many red flags were flying in the air, right? So if you can't agree on those things, I have to imagine that you're also not going to agree on how the news comes out or how the other person acts when the news comes out. But at that point, sorry, you no longer have any say over what somebody else does. However, somebody else's actions directly affect you and public opinion of you, which is really hard to take in, right? Like I said, it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved because you are now under a microscope. And I think the one mistake Paige made, or maybe not even mistake, maybe something I would have hit a little bit harder on in the beginning, in the first statement, was putting some distance in the timeline, right? She did a little bit. She did say, we spent some time talking to our family, but I would have hit the hammer so many times. We decided to break up. We've had time to process it, you guys. We wanted to make sure we really took some time to process it ourselves before announcing it to the public. It's really hard to do this in the public eye. Now that some time has passed since we actually broke up, we feel like it's the right thing to do, right? Because that puts some distance between the timeline. But really what throws the wrench in the system is Craig doing all of these press interviews, December 5th, doing this People magazine spread that is just doting over the fact that he and Paige are going to be married someday. Happy wife, happy life, all of these things. And I remember reading this People magazine interview on December 5th and feeling in my heart, something's not right here. It's a little over the top. It's a little doth protest too much. Is that the saying? But I didn't want to say anything because I don't need to say it. The reaction that we would have gotten at that time if I would have came out and said something here does not feel right, because it was just over the top. But Craig is kind of over the top, right? Let me see. Okay. Sorry. I'm just trying to find some of the quotes that he said because I'm going a little out of order. He says, "We know we're going to get married one day, and when it happens, it'll be a lot of fun. But whenever that is, who knows? Once you take yourself out of the pressure cooker and have some perspective and travel, life's a little more simple. There's no reason to put pressure on it. I think people will have a lot more of our lives to watch because we're taking our time than if we were to rush it." He says, "We really don't know what that looks like. We've got a couple years probably until we start having kids, and then we'll have to figure it out. But I've really taken this normal role now of being a happy wife, happy life." Okay, it's like wild to say those types of things when you know that you were actively broken up with somebody. Maybe he didn't believe it. Maybe he thought that there was a chance that they would get back together, and he didn't want to, come out and say in this People exclusive interview, because, he goes into that interview and the first thing that they're going to ask about is Paige. And, that's not the way that you want to break the news. "Oh, sorry, we're actually broken up." People are like, "I can't believe he's lying in these press interviews." And I'm like, I can. First of all, he's a lawyer and a storyteller. Second of all, like Paige said, he might have still been processing in his own way. It's easy for us to sit here and be like, "Oh yeah, well, Craig should have just told the truth." But there's 2 million, let's just look at their followers, okay? 2 million followers between the two of them that will be ready to jump in with their 2 cents as soon as they say anything. And I feel like Bachelor couples have shifted this a little bit, where we see now that they break up and they actually wait like 3 or 4 months to announce their breakup, because when it first happens, they're going through all this turmoil, on the inside internally, and they're just not ready for external forces to add their opinion. So it's like, people want to sit here and bash Craig for that. I get it. I think it's a little extreme. I think the things that he said was extreme, but I don't think that he was ready for everybody's opinions on it. And like I said, I think unfortunately, all that did was muddy the timeline for Paige, which is why I say, full circle moment here, which is why I say I don't really think that there's ever a way for two people to agree and be happy with the way that a breakup plays out in the public eye. So, I don't know. There's this other thought going around that Craig should have squashed the Paige cheating rumors. Paige hinted at it. No one on the other side, the apps, has stuck up for me. Kyle and Amanda did press where they, say, I think he should have done that. And I think it's a nice idea. Like, don't get me wrong. I think it would have been mature of Craig to do that. I think it would have been nice of Craig to do that. But people are forgetting he just got dumped. Kicked to the curb. And nice and mature are probably the last adjectives on the list that I would use to describe myself after I was dumped in my past relationship. So it's like, yeah, nice idea. Never gonna happen. But it sounds nice, right? Again, I just think that it's so interesting to me because I get this a lot too, where anytime you talk about something that you see on a show and there's backlash from it. I'll get DMs from people on the show that are like, well, this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. And they're like all mad at me for reacting to what I saw on the show. And I'm like, it sounds like you have an issue with the production of the show, because I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing. And I feel like that's what happened here, right? A lot of fans of Paige and Craig, they were just reacting to the information that was given to them. The information that was given to them was that they were together on Thanksgiving, that Craig was doing all of these interviews December 5th, all the way up through like December, I think it was on Watch What Happens Live, like really close to Christmas, right? Pretending to still be in a relationship with Paige. Shortly after Christmas, Paige, announces their breakup. And then we hear the New Year's Eve rumors where she was spotted with somebody else. So it's like they're mad at us for responding to the narrative that, like, no offense, whether you like it or not, they put out. So that's why I say it's tricky and it's hard. I'm not like giving them crap for it, because it's so much easier said than done to sit here up on a high horse and be like, well, you should have done this, because your mind's probably spinning anyways. But that's why I say I think it would have really done Paige some good to put the distance there between the timeline. And maybe she didn't want to out Craig for lying or whatever, but people were going to find out anyways, right? So I don't know. You know what other thought I had? I never wanted a winter house more than I do right now. Kyle, Amanda, Paige, Craig, Austin, whoever else you want to throw in there, I don't care. Get them to Colorado. Get them on the slopes. Spritz Society versus Loverboy in the cabin. Mix it all up and call it a day. We're close to the Summer House premiere. When does it come back? The 12th, I think. 13th, 12th, 13th, one of those days. Can't wait. Can't wait. There you have it. That's the end of the deep dive. All right, last but certainly not least, we have to do some Traitors talk to wrap up this week's episode. The Traitors are at each other's throats, and honestly, I kind of love it. Like, I know the premise of the show is for the Traitors to go after the faithfuls, but I'm finding it very intriguing for the Traitors to go after the traitors, and we've never seen them all turn on each other so quickly. Normally that happens a little bit further down the line. We did see Boston Rob take out Bob the drag queen, but now Danielle is going after Rob and Carolyn is going after Danielle, and it's just an absolute mess. In the turret, the names on the chopping block are Bob H., Ivor, and Wes. Now, Bob and Wes, that makes sense, right? Because they both have floated Rob's name, and if you utter the word Rob on any TV show, like, you're done for, right? Ivor is because he's such a proven faithful that nobody's ever going to banish him. And at the round table Boston Rob so eloquently articulates why Ivor. He's always thinking 10 steps ahead, right? First, it starts by Derek quickly taking aim at Boston Rob and pretty much spot on theorizes what happens. He says he was here at the beginning of the game. Nobody shook his hand. So obviously they're going to bring him back in to make it interesting. Alan is going to pick him as a traitor. He's going to bring in the three of us together. Obviously, one of the three have to be a traitor. Why even have Rob the shaking hand thing if Rob wasn't going to be a major player in the season, right? But Boston Rob's retaliation is quick. Stab to the heart. Turn the knife, right? He's like, I'm still alive, not because I'm a traitor, but because a traitor is trying to frame me. And the only person that is smart enough in this room to frame me is Wes. And it's wild because it's true. Right? Like, if anyone is gonna frame Boston Rob, it's Wes. Wes is just as prepared as Rob, though. He's ready to come for it. And he's like, this all started when Bob TDQ called out the three newbies. Rob had to cut him at the ankles, right? Kershal then is like, Wes, you're a bit too aggressive. He's like, I'll work on it, but in the meantime, I'll kill you. Like, it's pretty much what happened, right? He's like, I'll work on my aggression moving forward, but I threaten every single one of you that tries to make a move on me. And it's like, in that moment, it's done. The eyebrows go up, the heads turn. Boston Rob has a smirk on his face. Derek buries his head in his hands, right? And we all knew, right, that is when Wes, he lost the plot. The sad thing about this is that Boston Rob's time is quickly running out. People are onto him. They've already been onto him. There are only two ways I think that Boston Rob can escape a banishment. One, join forces with Carolyn and turn on Danielle. Danielle has caused enough suspicion of her actions, right? When she was giving the shield to everybody but herself on that game, you know, the tears and all the things. There's enough suspicion there on Danielle where they can make a move on her. The only other way I see Boston Rob escaping this, and I haven't seen anybody talk about this yet, is if there is some faithful in the castle who is smart enough to take a traitor to the end and get them at the end, right? I feel like Dylan could be the guy to do it. Dylan is close with Boston Rob, but Dylan isn't stupid. And I'm sure Dylan knows that Boston Rob is a traitor. So take him to the final three. Take him to the final three with one other person that you really trust. And at the last second, vote him out, win the game. Who's gonna do it? Please tell me, Dylan, that you're gonna do it, that you're in there strategy-wise, and that we see it. Do we have any prediction on who they will recruit to be a traitor? Because you know they do that. Let me think. I mean, right now, it's pretty obvious that Brittany would be an easy choice because she's buddy-buddy with Boston Rob, and Derek is kind of onto her about that. I'm trying to think. Dolores, I think, maybe. And then maybe Tom Sandoval could say he was right and that Dolores was a traitor because he's really like the comedic relief of this season of the Traitors. Just bless his heart. He's really going for it though. But if you're not watching The Traitors, what are you doing? It's the best show, so make sure you watch it. All right, guys, that's it. Leave a little review, a little 5-star boop boop, a little love you like a sis. Make sure you're subscribed if you're watching on YouTube so you never miss an episode. Of course, Bravo Friday coming out on the Patreon. We have your little pop culture extra tomorrow on the Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Morgan's Pop Talks. I'll see you there. And if not, I love you like a sis always. Bye.